Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Maria. I had VSG weight loss surgery on January 23rd, 2024 with Dr. Brian Benetti at Northern Dutchess Hospital. My highest weight was 307.4. My starting weight was 297. And as of recording, this is post-op week 15. And the weigh-in was 242.2 for a total loss of 54.8 pounds. So, now that we've got that out of the way, trying to get my water in. So this video is going to be about why I had weight loss surgery. So, I've tried to make this video so many times and there's always screw-ups or tears, and we're gonna try and power through and remember all the things we want to say without going rambly and making it an hour-long video. So, about a decade ago, my best friend had VSG surgery, and she was talking to me about it back then, obviously. And I had been struggling with my weight for a few years, and dieting wasn't helping, it wasn't working. So I decided I'm gonna look into this. Long story short, my insurance didn't cover it. So for the next decade, pretty much, we've been, I just continued to try to lose weight on my own, counting calories, Weight Watchers, keto, and all those different versions like Atkins and lazy keto and stuff. Intermittent fasting. What else? Oh, juicing. We did juicing because we watched that movie, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, Dying. One of them, I can never remember the real title. It's one of those versions. Anyway, so we do that, nothing sustainable, so I gained the weight that I lost back, and then I gain more, because that's what happens. 2019 rolls around. I am a dietetic student, still am, because I'm part-time, and I'm really connecting with the health at every size, anti-diet, intuitive eating community. So I decide that that's it. I'm done dieting. It is not working out for me. I'm not losing weight. I'm not keeping it off. It's not sustainable. I am so exhausted from this diet brain of counting calories and measuring and weighing everything. You know, I'm just exhausted by it all. So I'm done. I'm done being neurotic about food. I'm simply done. And so I work on undieting my brain, learning to love my body, and all that stuff. And mentally, I get to the point where I am saying, I want to run a mile nonstop. And if my body doesn't change at all, I'm okay with that. And that is still my mentality. Not that I am actively working on trying to run a mile nonstop, but that's besides the point. So I do this work for a few years on everything, and it was hard work, but I learned to love my body and everything, and you know, I got to a really good headspace about my body and everything. You know, obviously there'd be, you know, low days and things, but ultimately, like, I loved my body, I accepted it and everything, and it was what it was. December 2021. I go for my annual gynecologist appointment, and during the pap smear portion, my doctor notices something that seemed a little off, so she took an extra sample to send for testing. or just had the one sample tested for something extra. I don't know how it works. Anyway, she did not tell me that she saw something concerning or anything. She was just gonna wait for the results, and if there was nothing to worry about, then I was none the wiser. So the results come back, and I need to make an appointment with her for the results. Now, this has never happened. I have been with this doctor since I was pregnant. So, at that point, it had been like 13, 14 years. And I have a history of HPV, not one of the scary ones, but I get tested for it every year. If it crops back up, then I get retested in 6 months. And it's been years since it's cropped back up, so I'm either in remission or my body like expelled it all. But the only way to know is just keep on top of testing. Anytime it did crop up, they would tell me over the phone. So I never had to make an appointment to be told, hey, your HPV came back. We need to test you again in 6 months. So, it looked like the camera was a little, anyway. Okay, so, I make the appointment to get the results. I have my husband with me, because again, it's like, what is going on? She tells me, that they found precancerous cells, and we need to do a D&C, which is where they go in, they dilate you, and they go in and they clean out whatever, like your uterus, fallopian tubes, whatever needs to be cleaned out, and do whatever. So, we get the D&C done, and we go back in for the results, and she says, yeah, there were a lot of polyps. The normal D&C takes like 10 to 15 minutes. Yours took 20 to 25 because I just kept scraping stuff. And, you know, that's amazing. Will this work? Okay, I feel like this is gonna make my face look a little better because we're doing weird things with natural lighting right now. Okay. So, she says, so she took pictures when she was in there and all that stuff. And she said, hey, I'm going to refer you to a specialist because I'm not comfortable, with the level that this is, essentially. Like, she's like, she wanted to send me to a specialist because she wasn't comfortable dealing with it, because she's like, I don't see this a lot. And she's like, you know, you might need, a hysterectomy. And, you know, my husband's there with me, and that was a fucking bomb. Fucking bomb. You know, I'm about 35 at the time. And, well, yes, me and my husband are done having kids. One and done. Parenting is hard. And kids are expensive. But to hear, you know, hey, you need a hysterectomy at 35 years old, that's a tough pill to swallow. And after that D&C, I truly felt roto-rooted. And I had this almost constant pain in what I think was my right fallopian tube. And like nothing, no pain meds were like hitting it. So I kind of just learned to live with that pain. So the specialist, we get an appointment kind of right away, which was amazing. And the specialist, like, one of the first things out of his mouth was, I'm not impressed by these pictures. And by that he meant, this is not a severe enough case to warrant seeing me. which was kind of the best news you would hear. But he, so pretty much what happened was the official diagnosis is papillary mucinous metaplasia of endometrium. And it is caused by the estrogen your fat cells create. At least that's what caused mine. During my undieting part, I got off my hormonal birth control because I was like, all right, we're gonna do this, and I want to see what my body can do on its own. You know, let's see if maybe this will help. You know, I change my mind. I take away this one barrier. I won't be off my SSRIs, but you know, hey, maybe this one thing will help a little bit. And so getting off my hormonal birth control is what started this whole thing. So your fat cells create estrogen. It is a different estrogen than what your reproductive organs create, but it still does affect them. And this condition is mostly seen in postmenopausal women. So when I say my unicorn uterus, that's why. So his recommendation was, 1, lose weight. We know losing weight doesn't get rid of your fat cells, only liposuction does that, but the fat cells will shrink and therefore create less estrogen, and that's going to help. You also need to get back on hormonal birth control, so we started that right away. And then he said, you will need a hysterectomy, but the goal is to prevent you from needing it before menopause. And so this was a lot to take in. The whole thing was a lot to take in. First, there is the birth control going to be enough because of my weight? And we know that birth control effectiveness is based on a normal weight-sized person. And I am like double that. So that was a fear in my brain. Like, am I going to have to be on like a double dose? Will it work at all? What's going to happen? You know what I mean? And because again, I am just in this really bad headspace thinking about everything. And that, you know, so like your hormonal birth control, your morning after pills, all of those, the effectiveness decreases when you're overweight. And the more overweight you are, the more the effectiveness decreases. So, So that was all running in my head. And, and then there's the hysterectomy. Like, I had to come to terms with that. Like, you will need one at some point in your life. And it's just, you know, I'm focused on like, what if, and I need it sooner kind of thing. The specialist said it would only need to be a partial hysterectomy. I've made the decision that when it comes time to have a hysterectomy, it will be a full hysterectomy. And that's because at that point, we're just going to take out the whole enchilada, and then I don't have to worry about like cervical cancer or pap smears, things like that. So, yeah. So I made that decision. And during this whole thing, as I'm reeling with this, I am looking for any silver linings that I can grab. Anything. And the only silver lining that I could find was if I got a hysterectomy now, because I am under the age of 45, I would qualify for some disability payment for loss of an organ. And I held on to that for dear life. Because I use humor as a coping mechanism along with food. And so I would just make comments like, oh, well, you know, worst case scenario, I get some disability pay for a few years, you know, things like that. So after the specialist appointment, word comes around that my insurance company will now cover bariatric surgery. And I'm like, oh, cool, let's look into it. They did, but it was very restrictive. There were only certain hospitals and certain doctors and essentially it would be like a 2.5, 3 hour drive to New York City when I looked at it, based on like where the hospital was and stuff like that. And so I would have to go down there for every single appointment and everything, and it was just not feasible at all. Knowing like all of the prereq requirements that they wanted at that time. So, I was like, okay, fine, whatever. Bam, go away. Like, it just immediately, like, left my brain. Because I was like, oh, well. Same boat then. So, we start the hormonal birth control pill. I went on Slind, and it was costing about $50 a quarter every 3 months. I had to go through a specialty pharmacy, which was annoying. But we did that, and I wasn't losing weight. Like, it just wasn't happening. I wasn't actively trying to, like, I had spent so much time, like, undieting my brain, and I hadn't come to terms with the fact that I needed to go back into that life. Because I didn't want to. It was fucking exhausting. And it was like, why bother? You know, it's not gonna work. Like, it might work for a little bit, maybe a couple months, and it's not gonna work. I'm just gonna get fatter. Like, so I really just didn't, I'll be honest, like, I didn't fucking try, really. Yeah. So that was life for 2022, you know, like, I'm on this birth control pill. I'm trying to keep an eye on any potential symptoms that might crop up, like, just in case something else is wrong or things get worse, you know, anything like that. And then there's the pretty much, like, everyday pain of my uterus from the DNC. 2023 rolls around. The end of December 2022, I have my annual with my gynecologist again, and we schedule the next DNC to make sure, hey, is the medication working? Are things cleared up? We're going to go in and see. Obviously, the medication isn't going to work immediately, so there's still going to be some, like, polyps that have grown, so we just want to clear that out. Okay. So, the second DNC comes, and this recovery is so much different than the first one. The first one, I needed a week off of work. I could have stayed out longer because the pain was bad, and it wasn't constant, but it was frequent enough that I was like, this is ridiculous. Because I had taken, the DNC was on a Friday, so I took that Friday off, and then I took that Monday and Tuesday off. To give myself like 4 full days of recovery, but I took that whole week off, and I felt so bad because I didn't tell my boss or anything. I just put in for the time off request because I was like, okay, it'll, you know, like, they don't need to know this, but I just put in my time off request. But then it was like, I need to call out now, so now I need to tell them what's going on so they understand. Yeah, they were cool with everything. My whole team was cool with everything. But, yeah. Anyway. So, this DNC recovery, I took time off. And I didn't need it. like, the pain I had went away. I don't know what was causing it, and I don't know why it stopped, but it went away. So I was very grateful for that. I even went back to work. Like, I was like, oh, guys, I'm feeling much better. I'm just going to come back early. Save my PTO, you know? So that was awesome. And then I get word that the bariatric benefit has changed. It has been expanded. So I call again in 2023, a year later, to find out, is this possible? And it is this time. So, if I forgot to mention, the DNC came back. Everything looks fine now. We're good. The medication is working. While we were doing the DNC, we just put in the Mirena IUD because I was tired of dealing with the specialty pharmacy and everything. So that everything was copacetic and we're not worried anymore. Okay, cool. So now I find out I can have bariatric surgery. So I took it as a sign from the universe to get this done because I needed the help. Because there's no way I was going to keep weight off myself. Or even lose a substantial amount of weight. I think the most I ever lost was like 20 pounds. So, you know, now that I've lost over 50 pounds, you know, that's amazing to me. And like, I haven't been under 250 in almost a decade. So that's pretty amazing. But so 2023 benefit changes, and I call Dr. Benetti's office. Well, I had reached out, talked to my PCP, and she had recommended Dr. Benetti, and that worked because they are in the same medical conglomerate, different locations, but same like overall thing. So they both have access to the same electronic records internally, and that was important to me. So in end of February, I had my first appointment with Dr. Benetti, and then I went through the 6 months of pre-op. At the end of that, I wound up needing cardiac clearance because my weight up until my last visit had always been under 300, and then I was bloated on my last visit, so it was like 301, and it was like, oh, you're now over 300, you need to have cardiac clearance now. So that pushed things off, and that's why I didn't have surgery until January 2024. So, yeah, so that's where we're at now. I'm still on the hormone birth control, obviously, because it's an IUD, and I also knew that I also, because of my friend and, you know, my research, when I was looking into it a decade ago, I knew that post-op pregnancy was a risk. And so I was like, yeah, we definitely want an IUD, like obviously one, the hormones, but two, you know, we need to, you know, make sure that we're not risking it. No. So yeah, I'm not sure like how accurate this exact timeline is specifically. Like, it might be off like a month here or there, but that's essentially the breakdown from 2019 to 2024. So yeah, if you've got a uterus, stay up to date with your gynecology appointments, because you never know. But yeah, that's why I had bariatric surgery, was to, this might sound a little dramatic, but to essentially save my life, because I didn't really have comorbidities. Like, my blood sugar was usually fine, my blood pressure was usually fine. It was like It was never anything that we talked about at my PCP appointments. So, yeah, it was, I mean, obviously my weight was discussed, but that's a whole, you know. But, yeah, so that's why. It was, yeah, that's why. So now, the way it looks is, I'll be on birth control until, because I don't know if I'd ever be comfortable, even if I got down to, say, like, 125 pounds, which is never gonna happen. That's the weight I graduated high school at, like, no. Even if I got down to 125 pounds, I would probably still stay on the hormone birth control as a precaution, like, so until menopause, I'm on a hormonal birth control, and then after menopause, I'm looking at a hysterectomy, so go me. Yay. Me and my unicorn uterus. So, if I didn't mention this before in the video, this diagnosis is usually only seen in postmenopausal women, so that's why I call it my unicorn uterus. Yeah, so that's my story. So, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Chat in the comments. If you've made it this far in the video, leave a unicorn emoji so I know, you know, so I know you're here. Yeah, so I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.